am Dr. Laura Brayton. I am the host of this podcast, Well-Adjusted Mama, and today I'm excited to have guest Miranda Castro here to speak about homeopathy and specifically utilizing homeopathy during pregnancy, childbirth, and with infants. Miranda is a British homeopath who has been in practice since 1982 and has written several homeopathic guidebooks. She is a fellow of the Society of Homeopaths and past president of the North American Society of Homeopaths. She currently lives in Florida, where she is practicing, writing, teaching, developing healing creams, and software for homeopaths. Welcome, Miranda.
Hi, thanks, Laura. Lovely to be here.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a homeopathic practitioner. Homeopathy is one of those, it's not a fringe modality. It's an alternative system of healing that uses minute doses of substances and are available over the counter everywhere now, even in Walgreens and CVS, all the health food shops, all the vitamin shops. You can buy homeopathic medicines freely. But it's probably the least understood of all the healing modalities, and it's the most intriguing to me. It's a form of energy medicine, if you like, but in a bottle, and so that makes it a little odd. It's outside the mainstream. It's very hard to study it because we treat people, not diseases. That's homeopathy at its best is a very focused form of medicine that takes the whole picture into account. I don't think there's another modality that does it quite as thoroughly. And so people in this country, the medicines are FDA approved. It's they're fully regulated, and this makes them quite unusual, I think. I've been using homeopathy my whole life. My parents used it when I was growing up. My family doctor was a naturopath and an osteopath, actually, and he, whenever we were sick, we would get little white pills that magically made us better, very quickly. I think I had one course of antibiotics my entire childhood. And when I left home, I'm from England, maybe you can tell, and I went to Nelson's, the homeopathic pharmacy that provides the royal family with their remedies. In England, the royal family has a homeopathic physician on staff as well as a conventional medical doctor. So, and they've been doing very well on it. Well, some people would say, the health is good, the physical health. So, anyway.
And the Queen's still around, 88 years old.
And rolling. And
rolling.
All her marbles. She's, a great sort of, and her mother was likewise, just in fine form, right, until she lived to a ripe old age. So I left home at 16 went to Nelson's, bought a first aid kit, and that's what I used, the 36 remedy kit. I still have it, actually, and that's one of the wonderful things about homeopathic medicines. They last pretty much forever. They're affordable. They're $6-8 for a single bottle of aconite that'll probably last a lifetime. It's fantastic. I got into trouble in my 20s when my son was born, and he had all kinds of trouble. I had a very bad birth, a very long, hard, exhausting. I was in labor for days, 2 days. It was brutal, and I failed to recover. The breastfeeding was terrible shock. you know, it's a learned skill. Really, it is. And if I have one piece of advice, it's, for goodness sake, pregnant women have to have someone, a counselor, a doula. The doulas in this country are fabulous. They're trained to support women, to act as advocates, to help them, point them in all the right directions for healing. And I was very isolated. I lived in the country, and finally came upon the La Leche League and got some help. So Daniel, age 1, he got a bad cough. Actually, he got whooping cough. And it's a long sorry story, actually. We went to 4 homeopathic practitioners, 2 medical doctors, 1 lay practitioner, and another homeopath, and none of them helped him over a period of months. And finally, I was referred to, I had to be dragged kicking and screaming, actually, to a professional homeopath who cured Daniel literally overnight. By this time, he'd been coughing and vomiting for, 6 months maybe. It was a long time. And some things had helped him during that time, but nothing had held. And it was so remarkable, the difference between the different kinds of practice of homeopathy, because I, at that point, had trained as an acupuncturist. But with all my skills, I couldn't help him. Mm-hmm. Neither could any of my colleagues or friends who were in other allied therapies, and it was the professional homeopath who had the crazy skills, if you like. He was just who became, he had a school. I signed up immediately. It was so remarkable. He helped me to heal from the emotional trauma. And I think that's another thing that is fascinating, really, with homeopathy, that it works deeply on the whole person. A really wonderful remedy. It sort of drops like a healing balm into your soul. You feel a sense of well-being that's really, really special. So I then, after I trained in homeopathy, my specialty was working with families and children and all the acute illnesses and childbirth. I was just on a mission. And I wrote the book I wish I'd had when I was pregnant, the Homeopathy for Pregnancy, Birth, and Your Baby's First Years. And this is the book that gives women the tools to do really good homeopathy in their own home. And it isn't just a homeopathic handbook. It's got a ton of fabulous information and advice. Just nice. It's just nice. And I'm very proud of it. The women who use it and love it refer to it as their Bible, which is kind of hilarious to me.
It really helps to empower moms.
It's very empowering. Information is empowering, for goodness sake. Exactly. And information, there's a tremendous amount of medical practice now, both all over the world, actually, that I don't know what happened or how it happened exactly, but that pregnancy, childbirth has become more medicalized, not less. And I'm seeing women who having maybe, monthly ultrasounds, who are taking too many medicines, who are having too many tests, who are being given the kind of treatments that really we want to avoid when we're pregnant. This is one of the nice things about homeopathy, is that it is not 100% non-toxic. So this means that you can safely use these remedies during pregnancy, during breastfeeding, without worrying about how they're going to affect the baby. Anything homeopathic that is healing for the mother will automatically affect the baby positively, So it's just, there's only one caveat with the homeopathic remedies, and that is that people should be careful to follow the basic directions. And they work by stimulating the body to heal itself. This is their basic mechanism. And so you only need a very small amount of the right remedy to do that healing. It's a little bit like throwing a pebble into a pond. I always say, even as a home prescriber, you can get those pebbles to land fairly close to the center of the pond if you have to put a little bit of effort into working out which is the remedy you need. You're reading between 2 or 3 remedies usually and saying, well, maybe it's this or maybe it's that, I'm not sure, maybe I'll wait a little bit, or maybe I'll try this and if it doesn't work, I'll take that. That's typically how we do it. And so, for example, after childbirth, oh my gosh, I had so many shocks, it wasn't even funny. When your milk comes in, boom, you've got footballs for breasts. They're sort of huge and hard and hot, and it's a miserable few days. And the homeopathy can relieve that pain and suffering just in a few short hours. So the 2 big remedies for this complaint are belladonna and bryonia. And the difference, so belladonna, the breasts are hard and hot and red, or they're pink, or they have red streaks on them where the ducts are. And, it's very sudden, maybe in the morning you wake up, boom, they're engorged. And belladonna will bring that down, will soften the breasts, will take the pain away. It's just beautiful. Bryonia, by sharp contrast, they have the same hard, hot, heavy breasts, but they're pale, not red. And they're worse. The pains are worse for the slightest movement. It's just even sitting up in bed is excruciating. The stitching pains. Belladonna doesn't have that symptom, but bryonia does. So we go in for these minute details of how a disorder or a complaint expresses itself, and we choose between 2 or 3 remedies that have similar symptoms by the one symptom that is strange. So with engorgement, if it doesn't quickly resolve, the big problem is that you can get mastitis, you can get an infection in the duct, and a breast abscess, as it were. And that, I remember visiting one mother at her 1 week after the birth. This is her 4th baby, and she's sitting in bed, sobbing. She's in, she can hardly talk to me. The doctor had just visited. This is in England, where in a small town where doctors still did house calls. And he'd stood over, and because she had a fever of 101, and she had a bad mastitis, bad breast infection, and she basically, I think she hadn't taken antibiotics for, most of her adult life, and she certainly didn't want to take them while she was breastfeeding. And her doctor had, nice, tall, 6-foot man, stood over the bed and said, if you don't take them, you will end up in the hospital with an operation. Whatever that meant. It was a very bizarre thing to have said. And so she thought she was going to have a mastectomy if she didn't take the antibiotics. That's how she translated it, and it is what we we do the crazy things after, our minds just go to the craziest places.
Right.
And so she was just a mess. So I managed to get one symptom from her. She said, and she was breastfeeding as she spoke. She said, my breast is so painful. It's just excruciating. So part of her tears were because of the pain. She said, the pains feel like they're going over, radiating to my whole body hurts. So I feel like I've got the flu. Mm-hmm. So there's only one remedy that has this symptom. It's Phytolacca. And Phytolacca is our number one remedy for mastitis, and it's just like a miracle remedy, as it were. I gave her a couple of doses. I think she took 3 altogether, and felt her fever broke. It went up and then broke later that evening, and she woke up in the morning without a single symptom. She woke completely well. So the midwife visited and was just, we say in England, gobsmacked. She was just speechless. She took copious notes. She called me. She came and interviewed me. She ended up studying homeopathy. It was so remarkable. She'd never seen anything like it. So that's homeopathy at its best. Yeah. At its worst, it does nothing. You pick the wrong remedy, it doesn't help. You move on, you do something else. You pick another remedy, you get expert help, or you find another modality to help you. But it doesn't harm you in the process. So and I always say to people, get a good book. Do a little bit of reading before you start out. The confusing thing in this country is that homeopathic medicines have named diseases on the bottles. So, it could say anything. It could say epilepsy, for example, because the FDA picks one symptom out of hundreds or thousands of symptoms for that remedy and just pops it on the bottle. So that's unfortunate. Phytolacca probably says sore throat. It doesn't say mastitis on it. So we have to ignore the named disease on the bottle. It's a requirement, a legal requirement, and it has nothing to do with the whole picture of that remedy. And then the other slightly confusing thing in this country is there are a tremendous number of combination remedies. So, I described how we vacillate maybe between 2 remedies. And some of the manufacturers have had the bright idea, it's not a bad idea, to put those, say, Bryonia and Belladonna and Phytolacca in a combination remedy, in one remedy for breastfeeding problems. The problem with that is, and sometimes those combination remedies work and sometimes they don't. And that's if we follow the pebble in the pond analogy, it's a little bit like taking a handful of pebbles and throwing it at the pond without knowing exactly where the pond is now. And some of the combinations are so wild and crazy, it's like throwing it over your shoulder at what you hope to be the pond. You've got no idea. So the manufacturers of these combination remedies very rarely take the relationships between the remedies into account. Some remedies have bad relationships. They counteract each other's effects. And so a professional homeopath can always pick out the good from the bad in terms of those. And as a classical homeopath, I do give one remedy at a time and move on quickly if people are suffering and it doesn't help.
I think that's the beauty of homeopathy is less is more. And that's something that's not usually part of the American culture. We want to, like, oh, this works well, let's do more of it. And homeopathy doesn't need that. It's just very simple.
And that's a really good point. So people say, I stop taking it when I feel better. I don't carry on. That's a very common, comment. And I say, yes, you have to stop, because if you carry on taking it after you feel better, you can sometimes bring all your symptoms crashing back. The homeopathic medicine stimulates your body to heal itself. It's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. You don't want to overstimulate. If you overstimulate your body, especially if you're vulnerable, sensitive, your vitality is low, then, like I said, you can bring your symptoms crashing back. And this is actually how we test our medicines on healthy people. We have people take a substance, a homeopathic medicine for a period of time until they become symptomatic. And then we catalog those symptoms in meticulous detail. So that is the worst thing that home prescribers can do. They just keep taking the medicine rather than listening to their body's response and overstimulate. It's easily fixed. All they have to do is stop taking it, and the symptoms will abate pretty quickly. But that is, people say, oh, it's completely safe. Well, it is from a toxicology standpoint. That's true. You can't poison yourself with a homeopathic medicine, not physically, but you can overstimulate what we call your vital force. The acupuncturists call it chi. Your energetic body, as it were, and that's not good.
I think that is also the really cool thing with homeopathy. This isn't just about addressing physical symptoms. It's really working energetically, so that's going to impact the mind, body, spirit.
That's right. And women who need pulsatilla, there's another beautiful little remedy for the postnatal period, for breastfeeding. When their milk comes in, they can get mastitis. They have sore, hard, swollen breasts, just like belladonna and bryonia. But what happens, there's a much bigger picture with people who need this remedy. And the picture is that the pains, when the baby nurses, now it's here in the breast, now it's in the chest, now it goes down the arm, and now they're just moving from place to place. They're not in one place. They move around. The bigger picture is that women who need remedy often have a little or sometimes a lot of depression, postnatal blues, or, depression, as it were. And they're just feeling not up to the job. It's the first baby, and the feeling is, I want my mom. I want my mommy. And they cry at the slightest thing. They're just like so sensitive. You have to walk very carefully around them. And there's a feeling of wanting to be taken care of, and now they have to take care of this little one, and just overwhelmed with the responsibility, with the emotional. They're just a mess. So they're very weepy, they're very clingy if you give them really good comfort. They just melt into you. They love that. If you're a little bit harsh, they'll cry immediately, even if you didn't mean it. And then if you get a little bit strict with them and say, come on, we're going to go for a walk, they don't want it. The minute they're out in the fresh air, if there is any, if it's a winter and it's up north, or it's the summer and it's in the south of Florida where there's no fresh air for 3-4 months at a time. But if you can get them out in the fresh air, they are like miraculously better. Everything's better. The pains disappear. I mean, so we live for these unusual symptoms, homeopaths. The minute I hear that, weepy, better for fresh air, worse for hot, stuffy atmosphere, I think pulsatilla. And I know then that pulsatilla will help the mastitis. The pains will magically disappear. But better still, that woman will feel healed from the inside out. She'll feel better in herself. The strengthening that comes from it is, like I said before, it's like a small miracle. And everything that was bad is in the past. It's finished, done with. She's now fully present and correct and moving forward.
That's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's just this is so exciting for women to know that this is out there, this is available, and homeopathic remedies can be used for acute symptoms. You've gave some examples of that, but also there's constitutional homeopathy. Would you like to speak a little bit on that?
Oh, the chronic long-term problems. Yes, yeah. I mean, we have homeopathy has a lovely track record with a wide, everything from migraines, fibromyalgia to, arthritis. I mean, this is women suffer in pregnancy because of their chronic complaints that they don't want to take meds for. And that's a beautiful time to go see a homeopathic practitioner for an intake and get a good constitutional remedy. So that's, the nice thing with homeopathy is that you can use it at home. The home user probably ends up, like I started out with 36 remedies. My first kit, my second kit had 50 remedies in it. I probably knew 20, 25 of them. Had used those over a period of 10, 20, 15 years, something like that. And a homeopathic practitioner, just to give you sort of the scale of things, uses 200 to 500 remedies on a regular basis. They have knowledge of that. Homeopathic training is pretty long. It's 4 years, and managing a long-term chronic complaint is very different to treating acute complaints at home. Mm-hmm. We have thousands of substances that have been made into, that we use, that the homeopathic pharmacists have available. But, and we use computer programs, obviously, to do some of our selection processes. But people can do, they can do small miracles at home. So the reason that I got into trouble with Daniel with his whooping cough is that at that time, this is a while ago, he's now 35 years old, and he has children of his own, and it's lovely. It's all lovely. To be a grandmother, I'm just adoring it. So he, at the time though, when he was a baby, the first aid books that I had basically oversimplified the process of selecting a remedy. They gave the impression that if you had this complaint, there were only 3 or 4 or maybe 5 remedies for it, and if they didn't work, well, homeopathy didn't work. And that's an interesting thing, conundrum, if you like, that people will try a homeopathic medicine or 2 maybe, and if they don't work, that people say, oh, homeopathy doesn't work, I tried it, it didn't work for me. But they don't say the same thing about conventional medicine, and I frequently see people who've taken don't know, 10, 20, 30 medicines from their doctors that didn't help. But they don't say conventional medicine doesn't work.
Right.
And so there's a double, where it's sort of like a double bind in a double bind there. So we do have a lot of remedies. And the reason I wrote my book is because I wanted to provide the home user with the same tools that I have as a practitioner, scaled way down. So my books are a little bit more complex to use, but once you get the hang of them, you do really good homeopathy at home, and it's really nice. The letters I get are really nice testament to that. People frequently say, you know, I've got 2, 5, 7 children, and they've never been to the doctors. That's nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Daniel was, I think he was 12 years old, and he fell off a climbing frame. Maybe he was a bit younger than that. Maybe he was like 9. He fell off a climbing frame in the playground at school, bit through his tongue. Oh no, this was another thing. He had a very bad head, you know, cut on his head. I took him to the emergency room for some stitches. It was bad enough to warrant a few stitches. Mm-hmm. And the doctor who did the intake, he's interviewing me about, so he said, is your son allergic to any medicines? And so I said, I don't know. And so what he did, which is kind of funny, because he was an Indian doctor, he spoke to me, he repeated the question, but slowly this time, as if English was my second language. And I said, I'm afraid I don't know. He's never had any medicines. And now he actually turned around and looked at me in astonishment. Because, I mean, he'd never seen a child who hadn't had any meds. And so he stitched him up, and we went home. I mean, I gave him arnica. Arnica is our number one. You know, if you are new to homeopathy, go out right now, buy a bottle of arnica, stick it in your pocket, especially if you're a parent, and watch it work.
Arnica is amazing.
It is.
I love it. And there's topical gels, too, for people with, joint pain and other injuries, bruises.
Yeah. I happened to have formulated one of my own healing cream for joint and muscle pain is really spectacular. It has a 30-year track record. Thousands of people just adore it because it has 2 ingredients. One, to dissolve scar tissue. This is a big problem in an injured joint. The scar tissue can prevent healing. So there's an ingredient, homeopathic ingredient to dissolve scar tissue, and another to help an injured tissue, joint or muscle or ligament, to rebuild its integrity. And the other cream that I developed I developed it for newly delivered moms with episiotomies, and I mean, you can't imagine how much pain after the birth and the C-sections. It's a scar cream that heals keloids, heals the redness, the pain, the lumpiness. It takes all of that out. And it's petroleum-free. There's no beeswax or anything. It's just a very beautiful, clean, lovely little product. And, I'm in the process of developing more of these because people are just super happy with them. And, you don't have to suffer. That's my big message. Get smart about homeopathy and use it, especially if you've got small children in the house or on the way. You won't regret it. Arnica is the one that convinces the husbands that
because he feels the difference,
or the skeptical partners or in-laws that you want a child to fall down on their heads, And you want to not comfort them too much, just and pop a little tablet, no cream, just a tablet of arnica in their mouths at some point, and watch. So this is what you will see. You'll see the crying stops immediately, and they just go back to playing as if nothing happened. That's it. Takes the pain away in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, that lump now, the goose egg on the head or wherever it is that came up that will go through every color of the rainbow, will take, 3 to 7 days to go away, to heal, to, completely disappear. Arnica, if you give arnica before it starts to discolor, the swelling goes down in front of your eyes. It just disappears. And the people say sometimes, you have to believe in it for it to work. You do not.
Right, you
don't.
It'll
work or it won't. And so this is incontrovertible proof right there. The egg, the goose egg from the head injury goes away. The pain goes away. It becomes a non-event. You can catalog it with your iPhones. Take pics as you do it. That's fun.
I know a lot of people think it's like a placebo because it's like a little sugar pill, but you don't have to believe in it for it to work. It reminds the body to do what the body already knows how to do. It's just like a reminder.
Yeah, exactly. That's a beautiful way to put it.
So, Miranda, if somebody would like to buy your guidebooks or your creams or get a referral to a professional homeopath, can they find all of that on your website?
They can. My website is now a sort of fabulous resource of Miranda Castro. It's just my full name, mirandacastro.com. Mm-hmm. And I've got one part, the articles link on my website is just like a treasure trove of articles I've written over the years, some of which are just really entertaining stories about homeopathy and, how it works. There's one on children's complaints. That's just sort of fairly informational. So there's informational stuff, there's some stories and, that are instructive too, where I gave a remedy and it didn't work and what I did to unravel the mystery of that complaint in that person. They're really, really good stories. There's a page on my website of resources where you can find referrals to the various organizations that list qualified, registered, certified homeopaths in this country. And where there's a link to my shop where you can buy my creams, books, kits, homeopathic, all kinds of nice homeopathic products there. And there's a nice little explanation about homeopathy there as well. What it is, what it isn't. That's pretty important. The various myths about homeopathy are pretty interesting. So there's a little slideshow there. And my webinars. I've got a ton of free webinars that I'm putting up as I do them. So you can learn about all kinds of stuff, how to care for your bones. There's one on breastfeeding right now that I did for the National Center for Homeopathy. This is National Breastfeeding Week,
Oh, I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
I saw it on Facebook this morning.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I didn't know whether you'd picked it on purpose. Well, that is interesting synchronicity. Well done.
Well, Miranda, thank you so much for sharing your passion and your wisdom on this really, amazing healing tool using homeopathy.
Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak about it, Laura. I always love to do that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye for now.